Wendy Cruz and Zabe Sheikh. Now, I interviewed them yesterday, and you heard their argument about this. The artists think this copyright bill treats them unfairly, doesn't reward the artists. What does the government think? Is Bill C-32 putting Canadian culture in jeopardy? Joining me now, the Heritage Minister, James Moore. Minister Moore, good to see you. First of all, you just heard Zabe Sheikh and Wendy Cruz, and there's lots of actors, and they said, look, we want the old laws for CDs extended out to protect in this new environment for downloads and digital downloads, and there should be what they're calling a levy on all of that. What's the reaction?
We don't agree. Our bill C-32, the copyright bill, was arrived at after a great deal of consultation. All through the summer, all through last summer, we did consultation. We heard from them, we heard from ACTRA, we heard from other organizations, and we think our bill gets it right. It's balanced. And as was said in editorials, has been said by groups across the country, that the bill strikes the right balance about what's in the best interest of consumers, what's in the best interest of creators, and that's what we want to do. This legislation makes piracy illegal in Canada. That's the goal. They're right that the creative community, whether it's creating software, video games, music, television, that people are being stolen from, and we want to protect those who are creating and investing their heart and soul and their money into enterprises. We want to stop them from being stolen from, but we don't agree in adding a new tax onto iPods, MP3 players, BlackBerry cell phones, and laptops.
They're saying their characterization of that. They don't use the word tax. They're saying levy, and I'm using the term Wendy Cruz used there. They're saying, look, we already have a framework to make sure that there is a levy that is paid on a CD. Why don't we extend it to the new forms of media as well, to the downloads? They're saying if you don't do it, you're not paying the artists for their work.
We are paying for artists for the work. When I buy a movie, I've paid for the movie. To ask me to pay for it a second time through another device and to assume that I'm doing illegal copying, to assume that I'm being a pirate, to assume that I'm thieving from people because I happen to own an MP3 player or a Blu-ray player or a laptop, I think treats consumers unfairly. It's not necessary. Let's stop the theft and stop this stealing from those who are creating content across Canada and protect them from those who are doing them harm. Get Canada off of the international watch lists, enforce the WIPO treaties, and put forward legislation that's balanced in terms of the best interests of consumers and the best interests of creators. And I should say, by the way, ACTRA, the group, they had a proposal in the consultations that we did. They put forward 6 proposals. We agreed with them on 5 out of the 6 proposals. There's one we don't agree on, and that's imposing a new levy or a new tax on consumers. I don't think it serves Canadian content and Canadian creators to make it more expensive for Canadians to buy the devices on which they would consume Canadian content. I don't think it serves the creative community.
Their argument, and you just heard it, was saying, look, on blank CDs, there already is a levy that goes back to support Canadian culture. The technology has evolved. Now there's MP3 players, there's iPods. Why don't we just extend that and kick that money back to support Canadian culture?
There has yet to be a proposal, and there was not a single proposal that came forward through our consultations that made any sense, that made that actually, in my judgment, workable. And I don't think that putting a new levy and a new tax on consumers serves the creative community in that regard. Your BlackBerry, I don't know. I mean, I know on my BlackBerry, I don't have music on my BlackBerry. I have music and television shows and your podcast on my iPhone. But why should I pay a levy on both devices? We're assuming devices are being used for purposes that they may not be. And by the way, there is a bill that proposes what they suggest. It's been put forward in the House of Commons by the NDP. And this is a bill that would impose a massive new tax on anything that has a hard drive, because that's how you have to define it. When you get into copyright language...
The Charlie Angus bill.
The Charlie Angus bill, and it's a bad one. And because you have to talk about... They say MP3 devices, but what you're talking about is any device that has a hard drive. So you're talking about a memory stick, a laptop, even an automobile that has a hard drive to which you can rip music to. Every single device that has a hard drive would be subject to a brand new tax, and I don't think punishing consumers with a new levy, assuming that they've done something wrong, is what's in the best interest of consumers or creators.
So when a group of actors, high-profile actors, come up and say, we are not getting rewarded for our work when the new download world, the new devices, the laws have not kept pace with technology, and essentially the artist community is being ripped off.
They don't have a right to an income that is taken from taxpayers through a levy. What they do have a right to is a government that takes seriously their responsibility to have an intellectual property rights regime that protects them from having their creative works being stolen from them. That's what this bill does. We can disagree on how artists might be compensated, but we agree with them that theft should stop, that intellectual property should be treated seriously, and that Canada should protect those who are investing into video games, software, movies, television, and music, that what they're creating should not be stolen from them. That's what this bill does. And we disagree with them on compensation. We think that, we believe that they should be able to engage the market, that they should be able to do so and to do so in creative ways and to support them and to stop those who want to steal from them. But we don't think that they have a right to have an income. No, we don't.
And that's not the way to support Canadian culture in your mind.
Correct.
All right. I got to do what's a mashup, a jump cut, whatever you want to call it in the media. Gordon Campbell, the Premier of British Columbia, steps down. He decides he's done. He's going to resign. There's a vacancy at the helm. You're a well-known MP from British Columbia. There has now been a movement to say, let's draft James Moore, Conservative minister, as a Liberal Premier of British Columbia. I got to put it to you, have you been asked to run as the next Premier of British Columbia for the Liberals, and are you considering it?
It's been very flattering. Some folks out in British Columbia have suggested that I consider running for it, but I'm not, frankly, interested in entering provincial politics. I think the best thing that I can do for British Columbia, and I think the best thing for British Columbia, is that I and others, British Columbians, that we help to re-elect Stephen Harper as the Prime Minister of this country and to re-elect, hopefully, a majority Conservative government. So some flattering things have been said. And,
so Jim Prentice is gone. There was rumors about Peter MacKay, but the rumors that you are thinking about running as the Premier of British Columbia?
I'm not entering provincial politics. I'm running for re-election in my riding, and I'm running to re-elect Stephen Harper as the Prime Minister of Canada.
But they have talked to you.
Yes, I've received some interesting phone calls, but my commitment is to Stephen Harper and to the Conservative government. All
right. Minister of Heritage, James Moore, and he will continue to be on the federal scene from the sounds of it. Thanks for being here.
Pleasure as always.
We could have a little segment putting rumors to rest now about Conservative ministers.
Well, you may put this one to rest.
All right. The rumor is to rest. James Moore not going to run as the Premier of British Columbia. All right.